Okay, you guys, I said I was going to be reviewing these comic books, and here I am. They were really good. Honestly, I like to say that I got, I'm saying, I got decent taste in comics. And also, I like some of the popular stuff that everyone else likes. So there's that too. I usually go for indie stuff. But this X Men Uncanny X Men issue 12 written by Gail Simone, I think that's what her name was. Yeah, she is absolutely fantastic. She reminds me of Chris Claremont in that way that Chris Claremont could have an issue of X Men where there's just, there's a lot of exposition and it's showing people's mundane lives. And this, they were able to do this in this X Men. And I think Gail Simone has that ability to make even the talking interesting in, her X Men run. Uncanny X Men run, excuse me. And yeah, man, I definitely look forward to this. Like I said, I just jumped into this because the cover looked cool. The Gambit was on it, but as you can see, they were talking to different X Men throughout the issue, and it was phenomenal. All in all, Gail Simone is doing a great job with Uncanny X Men. I just love how she's able to make mundane situations with these X Men talking seem so interesting, almost as interesting as action itself. There was a little action in this, and Gambit had to go back to Louisiana and fight back against these thugs that were extorting him. So it was actually a really good story, and I love how Rogue and Gambit are together and they're teaching a new class of young X Men. Oh man, Gail Simone was killing it. Spider Man, Ultimate Spider Man, issue 16, absolutely crushed it, man. I don't even know how much of this I can explain to you guys because Mysterio's in this, and the whole thing is a mystery, obviously. And there's so many twists and turns. Like right when you open it, you see a pivotal character that is a part of a grand scheme of things. You know what? I'm just gonna explain it because if you haven't read this by now, I don't know. But Gwen Stacy is part of there's a group of Mysterio. There's a group of Mysterio fighters, and she is part of that group. And the action in Spider-Man, then you got those two, Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy, in love at the wedding. But there's so many twists and turns, and the fact that Gwen Stacy is a part of this Mysterio group. Ultimately, my conclusion of Spider-Man issue 16 was that it was phenomenal. I was absolutely in love with the cover. Mysterio is one of my favorite Spider-Man antagonists, and the fact that in this issue, Harry faked his death along with the help of his wife, Gwen Stacy, in order to take the fight to those that are trying to kill them. And I love how they showed Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn in love, and how Gwen has the powers of Mysterio, and how she was able to also help fake her husband's death so they can go underground and take the fight to those that are trying to harm them. It's brilliant. In Werewolf by Night, honestly, I was disappointed out of all my comic books that I've gotten. With the hopes to review them, because I was actually hoping this would have been the best reviewed comic that I got, because I have an affinity for horror. Obviously, if any guys see my page, you know I draw my horror stuff. I'm working on my comic Saints of the Night, so you already know. But I was disappointed in parts. I would say not completely disappointed, but disappointed enough to be like, damn, man, I really wanted more from this issue. Definitely considering that it is what is it, Marvel's red label. I think that's what they call it. Or no, excuse me, not red label, red band, meaning that's when they're able to loosen the reins and show more explicit content. And considering the fact that it's a werewolf, you would expect, excuse me, you would expect there to, obviously there was carnage. There's definitely that. You know what I'm saying? Let me renege a little bit, but at the same time, I wanted there to be just a little more like less mystical stuff, and more focused on the werewolf, because they were, the werewolf was really just like they were on a different plane. They were talking about mysticism. Obviously, you got Dr. Voodoo right there, which is one of the highlights of this comic, I will say. I'm glad that he was in this. It makes me really want to read the next issue, because there was so much going on. And maybe I just needed more context because I just jumped into this really. You know what I'm saying? I've been picking parts here and there, or the Werewolf by Night, as far as the issues go. And I don't have a whole complete context of the story thus far, but yeah. Anyways, but moving on to Spawn, Gunslinger Spawn. I was absolutely fascinated and enthralled by this issue because, believe it or not, there wasn't too much violence in it. There was enough, but there wasn't too much. It was scaled back for the sake of the storytelling, which I really appreciated. And I got that as soon as I finished the comic. I was like, okay, so they were really leaning on the storytelling, because no one died in this. No one died in this issue, which I really appreciate considering the fact that I just came back to Gunslinger Spawn after, dozens of issues. Not because it was bad, just because I didn't have the money to buy it, because these comics can be quite expensive, folks. So, but Gunslinger Spawn is the way to go, especially if you're comic book shopping on a budget. The Moon is following us with something that I definitely enjoy, considering that this is my first introduction to it. Yes, issue 5 was my first introduction. Sometimes I do that. That's kind of my thing now. But from what I get from The Moon is following us is that this girl is sick. There's a little girl that's sick physically, and, her mother and father go into her, somehow they go into her mind, and they have to face endeavors within her mind. They go into her dreams and they have to fight against her nightmares. Her plush toys, her stuffed toys, are actually the allies that her mother and father fights with, which I thought was pretty interesting. I definitely, even jumping on issue 5, it makes me want to read it from 1 to 10. Yeah, I think they're just finishing up that story arc. Oh man, I don't want to mess up his name. Warren Johnson is fantastic drawer, fantastic writer for The Moon is Following Us, and other stuff as well. Transformers, he's been done great work with that. But yeah, Werewolf by Night was definitely my least. Yeah, I would say my least liked. It was my least liked of this bunch of comics that I got for sure. But with that being said, I thought the beginning was okay. The middle was like kind of, but the ending stuck the landing for me by introducing Dr. Voodoo to the story. Or at least for me, if you guys read prior issues of Werewolf by Night, you're probably like, oh, he was supposed to be there. But the fact that he was there at the ending really, tied it up for me, because I was like, okay, there's going to be a big finale. There's going to be some big things happening issue 9 and 10 for sure. I think this was a 10 issue run. And so, yeah, issue 9 and 10 are going to set some things in motion moving forward for the Werewolf by Night. And yeah, man, I was excited. I'm excited enough to finish that series. You know what I'm saying? Finish the next issues after what I just read, which is, I believe, issue 8. So, yeah, but thanks for rocking with me. You know what I'm saying? I got some more comics on the way. Y'all have a good time. Let's read comics together. Let's talk about comics together. Send me some comments. Tell me what you guys are reading right now. Tell me if you guys like what I'm reading. Give me some suggestions. Let me know. But you guys have a nice day, and we're going to talk about comics shortly after this. Peace.